So in our 8-vehicle control fleet, we have the 5 data log Google vehicles, which are part of our G fleet, the 3 Priuses and 2 Ford Escape hybrids. And we also added 3 other sort of American fleet representative vehicles, which include our Toyota Sienna minivan, we have a Toyota Corolla, and we have a big Ford Expedition SUV. So to actually run the driving experiment, we hired a number of drivers from the local shuttle service here that runs our G Fleet buses. And they've actually come in and started driving the cars for 10 or so hours a day, 7 days a week, to try and go through all 2,000 trips that we've decided needed to be driven for this particular experiment. And the drivers come in every day. We've actually got a lockbox over here where they come in and pick up the keys. So they come here in the mornings and badge in. And this is where we keep the keys for the cars. Once they've gotten the key for the car that they need to be driving, we come over and check in here. We've got a little station set up here at the reception desk. So this laptop is actually connected up to the Google network. We have a Google Apps engine backend here that's actually doing our trip scheduling and the actual drive assignment for the drivers to use. So they log in with a Gmail account here. And once they've logged in, they're presented with a very simple screen here that basically tells them a trip ID, the name of the trip, and then what vehicle they're supposed to be actually driving the trip in. And they simply go through and click the Start This Trip, go out and drive the route. They record all of the driving that they're doing on these paper logs here.
Paper.
Yeah, paper. Paper has turned out to be our friend because it's a lot easier to go through it and do quick checkups on what's happened with the cars and actually get some backup for the data that we have elsewhere. And once the drivers are done, they basically log the trip in here using the laptop and go ahead and get another trip to drive. I don't actually want to start one of the trips here because obviously that will mess up our production driving experiment. So once we've actually gone through and driven all of these different routes, we'll be able to look at the data from these routes. Each one of these routes is tracked with a GPS system. We have some standalone GPS units that have all of these routes pre-programmed into them. So once the driver gets the route from the route sheet here and goes out to the car, they know exactly what route to pull up on the GPS. They go through and drive it. The GPS records a track of the route, and we download the data from the GPSs periodically, and we actually use another Google software package called GPS Babel to extract the GPS tracks from the GPS units and convert them to KML files so we can actually view all of the driving that's been done in Google Earth or any other application that can process KML files. And once we have all of this data, we'll be able to correlate that with what our data loggers are doing in the cars that have data loggers. And we'll be able to get a much more representative sample of how the controlled driving represents actual driving experiences that customers of plug-in vehicles would have if they actually had them in their own hands. Okay.
Do you want to talk about the 2,000 trips, how you got them, or about the post collecting the data, what'll happen?
So once we've gone ahead and collected the data, we're going to take a look at both the GPS tracks that we've gotten from the cars to sort of confirm that the trips that we allocated to the drivers are actually the ones that got driven. We're also going to divide the trips up into basically 3 different types of driving trips. We have a set of city trips that range from anywhere from 1 to 30 miles. We have a set of combined city and highway trips that range from, I think, 9 to somewhere on the order of 45 or 46 miles. And then we have some highway trips that run from 15 miles up to 92 miles. And what we wanted to do is drive each of the cars and each group of these trips to try and get an idea of what the aggregate gas mileage would be sort of in each class of trip. And we'll be able to go through and drill down into the fueling data that we have. When each of the cars is driven, we actually have a separate gas card for each one of those cars. And every time a fueling event happens, we capture the odometer reading and the number of gallons that are dispensed for each vehicle. So we feed that back into our data collection system, and we'll be able to get true mile per gallon numbers for each of the vehicles and broken out into each one of these classes of trips. So we'll know how each vehicle performs for city driving, for combined driving, for highway driving. And our goal in the end is to be able to sort of present this data side by side for each vehicle. So you can actually get an apples to apples comparison of how the plug-in Prius hybrid compares to the regular Prius hybrid, compares to an Expedition SUV or a Toyota Sienna minivan, and also we include our Ford Escape hybrids in that. When it's all said and done, we'll have logged about 2,000 trips total. Most of those, just the way the trip distribution worked out when we looked at the NHTS data, most of those trips are on the order of 1 to 3 miles, so there are a very large number of trips that fall in the less than 5 mile category. The majority of trips are less than 5 miles. But that's how we decided to run the distribution based on the data that we saw in the NHTS survey. Anything else?